You can check out all the episodes of The Table of Truth on our website, www.tableoftruth.com. All right, welcome everybody to The Table of Truth. We have a special show. The Table of Truth presents Blerdlines. This is going to be a little bit of our show that we do comic book related content. It'll be comic books themselves, movies based off comic books, and even TV shows as well. This is your man Cam, as always. With me is...
Yo, what up? It's your man Pope. I've been back from the dead. I've been gone for about 2 years.
Woo!
Man, I'm back.
Welcome back, Pope.
Welcome back. With me is...
Cliff, aka No Cliff. Happy to be back. Talk about comics.
And Josh.
What up, fellas? Thank you guys for joining us in this little experiment that we're doing. So yeah, we're gonna try to do a little bit more focus on the nerdy comic book stuff. Like me and Pope and the rest of the guys, we all read a lot of these things all the time. So it gives a better chance to try some things you might not have read before, but also like give a nice little talk about it. So it should be pretty cool. Recently, the Black Comic Book Fest just passed in New York City about 2 weeks ago. I didn't get to attend, but Josh and Cliff, you guys want to tell us how it was?
Yeah, get on your jobs, guys.
Cliff, you got there a little bit before me. Why don't you kick it off?
So yeah, I arrived around, I think it was like 10:20 or something. The Black Heroes Matter panel started at 10:15, so I was really looking forward to that and the different topics they'd be talking about. I actually met my sister there who just moved to New York. But anyways, some of the panelists were Machindo. I don't know his work that well, but Trevor Von Aiden has done comics for DC and I believe Marvel as well. He's an artist and writer. Marcus Williams of Tuskegee Heirs. And I can't pronounce his name that well, but Dewemi Royo Akupe, I might be mispronouncing his name, but he's the creator of EXO, Legend of Wale Williams, and it was moderated by David Walker, who has written for Power Man and Iron Fist, Occupy Avengers, and Shaft. So that sounded really cool, and I was, again, looking forward to it. So when I got there, it was a really great discussion. They were just talking about representation of Black superheroes in comics, and a few of the guys have released independently. So, and they've gotten a lot of attention, especially EXO and Tuskegee Heirs. So that was cool. But I don't know if Trevor Von Aiden hadn't taken his medication or if the drank before or whatever. But probably 10 minutes after I got there, the dude just brought the whole conversation down. And I think Josh came around 10:35, 10:40, maybe?
Somewhere there about, yeah. And
so when Josh got there, I think I texted Josh, I don't know if it was before or after you got there, but the discussion had gone down so much by the time he got there, I just said, dude, ... Because the Trevor Van Aiden dude was just throwing bombs for no reason, just telling people that he told one lady that who was an educator that wanted advice about how to best prepare her children or to help her children if they want to become creators, that there is nothing you can do. They have to learn on their own. And everybody in the audience was like, what? What are you talking about?
Calm down, bro.
Yeah, I think
he started talking about, I'm sorry, go on, Josh.
Yeah, I think I got there right after all of that. Right after it, because Cliff sent me a text message, dude, I'm like, yeah. I'm walking in now. And he's like, yo, this panel is bananas. And as I walk in, you can hear people muttering in the audience and they're arguing amongst themselves on the panel. And, you know, he was at the center of it, frankly. Every twist, every left turn that everything took, every time it looked like things were going to get normal, this dude would just go way off the reservation. And
what was it more? Just because like he was giving harsh advice, or just like left field advice?
Yeah, that sounds about it. So it sounds like he was just really he had a different opinion than everybody else. Is that what it was?
Yeah, very contrarian, man.
But it seemed like he wanted to blow the panel up.
It really did.
He's a panel
Like he
terrorist.
just came in with a bomb attached, a vest attached to a bomb, and was just like, yeah, I'm gonna blow this whole joint up. There was a woman who's homeschooling her kids. I don't know if you remember that, Cliff. The lady who was homeschooling her kids, and she was like, I don't know anything from anything, but one of my sons, she has 2 kids, and she's like, one of my sons is gonna is really big into art. So I really don't know anything from anything. So if you could give me some idea of what it is I could look at, books that I can get. So one dude was like, yeah, so when I was coming up, the Charles Schultz How to Draw Peanuts book is a great resource. I'm like, dude, no, why are you giving her the Peanuts book? And then this guy Trevor basically was like, well, yeah, that's not my job to really tell you that. I was like, are you kidding me?
Is it black guy?
Are you serious right now? You can ask Cliff. That was straight up. That was his answer. That is not my job.
But the reason why I said that the dude might have been off his meds, he was taking the microphone and dragging it on his pants and making like this feedback sound. This was before Josh got there, I think. Yeah. And everybody was just like, what are you doing? I don't know if he didn't notice or if somebody else was talking, he didn't like what he was hearing, so he was just going to disrupt them by rubbing the mic on his pants. But he was just the ultimate disruptor. And I remember that in question and answer session, they actually had to cut it short because the organizers didn't want him to keep
talking,
like either interrupting or answering.
Yep.
Wow. But the best part of it, I don't know if you remember, was when the kid from one of the kids groups at the Schoenberg asked him a question.
Yeah.
Maybe you can address this.
So basically, one of the kids asked him. So maybe you speak to this first part because he had mentioned something about the NAACP, Cliff.
Yeah. So he had mentioned like. It was one of the, I think, first questions, or he had mentioned in passing, just like, he didn't like the NAACP because they had colored in the name and they're a bunch of coons. So the kid was like, why do you not like the NAACP exactly? Because I think the kid had a hard time understanding why. And the guy was like, they're a bunch of coons and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not colored. I'm just human and blah, blah, blah and yada, yada. And then the kid was like, he kind of bodied the whole thing because he was like, what exactly do you think the NAACP does? And everybody in the audience was like, ooh. It was like, yeah. He was giving it to this guy. He did not let this dude off the hook at all.
Wait, so what about the rest of the actual event? Because I remember last time I went last year, it was dope, but it was almost, there was too many people for the space, so it got even like more tight. And so although it was cool to see a lot of the artwork and tons of people brought their kids, and I think that was the part that I liked the best. That was like so many of the adults and were out bringing their kids, and the kids were like, consuming and buying stuff and talking to artists and all that kind of stuff. But unfortunately, it was just the place was just too small, and it was just starting to get too packed to the point where you can't even really enjoy it.
It was more of the same. I would say it was more of the same. They had the vendors where they had the vendors upstairs last year in that huge open space. They had them downstairs in the basement in a space about half the size.
Where was
they also had half the vendors, so there's that. I don't know if it just costs too much or if no one got the word out or what, but the number of vendors selling merchandise and old, back orders of comic books and stuff like that, back issues rather, of comic books, it was a lot less than last year, a whole lot less. But I would say there weren't less people. There were a lot of people there.
That's dope.
Yeah, people seem to come a little bit, I think it felt later, unless I got there later last year. But when we got there wasn't a line. Then when we came out, I think it was around 12:30, so the line was down the block. So I don't think it was a numbers problem, but like Josh said, it just the setup didn't make sense where you had so much more room upstairs. And, I guess we'd have to talk to them about why they decided to move it downstairs to a smaller space, but it was just small. It was hot. There wasn't room to move around. And it's just a little weird because they've started something, or it's been going on now for a while, that's so positive and so good. To mess up on the logistics like that, I feel like they don't have enough room to, I guess, mess up like that. You know what I mean?
And then what about like the quality though? Because like last time there was it was good to see more creators, and the ones that were dope, like really, like they were like shine. You could tell, like, oh, okay, you got your stuff together. Book looks good, quality of art. You know, it made you enticing, so you can go pick it up. But then there was a lot of other people that were just kind of like, all right, bro, you know, keep working on it. You know, you got to get there. And it's not even like, and you're like, you want to go. It's like you said, it's almost like the old, like, hey man, you want to buy my mixtape? You're like,
right.
You sound like Tina from Bob's Burger.
But it's like, it makes it. I mean, that was like thing we went to Comic-Con for the New York one, where it's like, you know, this is the second year I've been actively seeking out more people of color art and artwork and stuff, and comic books. So it's like the dope stuff is, you know, I want to help. I want to patronize peoples. So the dope people, you know, it's dope. But then the other ones, you're like, hey man, you hear the story, it sounds all good. Then you look at the art, you're like, oh damn.
Well, I'll say this: like, what was positive about it was that you had like the two big Kickstarter guys there. I think was EXO Kickstarter. I can't remember, Kim.
Yes.
Yeah, he was.
I know.
So between EXO and Tuskegee Airs, those were two big Kickstarter guys that were able to raise lots of money and create really good product.
Yep,
definitely.
Black was
a lot of good press.
I supported Tuskegee Airs, and I supported a bunch of them last year. Tuskegee Airs, supported Black. I supported
and Black was there too, because Kari was there with his crew pushing.
Teflon Funk is the other one I supported.
Oh yeah, I met those guys at
I think Teflon Funk was there too.
Yeah, I met them at.
So I think
they're about to do some stuff, man. I think they're actually working on a pilot because they were like a little too happy the way they were walking around. I'm like, oh, you guys don't have a booth? They're like, nah, man, we were working hard. I'm like, okay.
I mean, that's because their book is behind, also.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
But yeah,
it's like they had. Go on, Josh.
No, after you.
Well, I was gonna say it seemed like they had more dope, or not more dope, but like a good selection of dope people that have more reach than last year, but it wasn't as broad as last year. You know what I'm saying? Whereas like they had a bunch of dope people, but they didn't have anything as big as EXO, Black, and Tuskegee Airs.
Okay. Word.
Just as a final point, I think they need, honestly, you know, as Cliff mentioned earlier, just the logistics are just not well handled at all. They need better moderators for their panels, because remember last year it was one person just sort of dominated the one blurred session as it was called, blurred comic nerd, something like that.
Blurred girl.
Yeah, she kind of just dominated the whole thing. Every question, even if it was directed to somebody else, specifically, she was still somehow opining and answering the questions. But I think they need better moderators, and I think they definitely need an event coordinator.
Oh, like a main person to be like, yo, I'm the person that's overseeing the whole thing.
And if they do have one, they need a better one. The way it's laid out, the way that it's being handled, just there's a lot of potential.
Where was it?
A lot of potential for growth, and they
Schomburg.
It's at the Schomburg.
And I think they might need a bigger space too.
They absolutely need a bigger space. They should charge, frankly. As much as I love free stuff, I think they've gotten to the point where, you know, they charge $5. Keep the barrier to entry low. You know what I mean? You still want people, you still want bodies there, so keep the barrier to entry low. Charge $5. Make a little bit of a profit off of it.
They should charge.
Yeah, that's fine, man. That's any.
Because I went to
handle that.
I went to an indie Mocha Fest.
Oh yeah, that's the one at the Armory, right? Or the other Armory.
There's an Armory on 23rd Street.
Right.
Okay.
And that joint was packed to the brim, and I had to pay $10 to get in there, and they wrapped around the block.
Yeah, I mean, if they could spot, I have a feeling, you know, they want to keep it in Harlem for being in the Harlem thing. But if they could find a spot in Harlem that can hold it, I think that definitely be a good move. Like they could just keep the panels at Schomburg and then do the actual event, you know, like down the block or something like that.
I mean,
I'd be down for that because it's just growing, which is good. It's just that, you know, for logistics' sake, we just need a bigger spot.
Yeah.
I I mean, the fact that you're getting me to come all the way from Brooklyn all the way up to Harlem, you're clearly doing something right. 2 years in a row, you're clearly doing something right.
Oh my God, you went all the way up to Harlem. Josh,
That's right, all the way up to Harlem.
You definitely deserve it.
BX hate BX.
Let's get this guy a Medal of Honor. Presidential seal of approval.
Man, I come back home, I need like, that radiation shower they give you with the heavy brooms and,
Hey man, as long as at least he's not going to the BX, man. I gotta go over the river and through the woods.
Yeah, this is why I don't mess with people from Brooklyn. Yeah.
Got my knapsack on. I got my level 2 sword.
Like, fuck Brooklyn. I'm moving down south. Get out of Brooklyn. Get out of here.
I got the walking boots. No, I think that's dope though, because at the very least, pretty much like everything, it's like, okay, you got to start it so then they can get better. I mean, this is their 5th year. So
is their 5th? Yeah.
Yeah. So I missed it, and I started to look on their page to see what they have, and they have like volunteer situations and all that. So I kind of want to check it in just to kind of see if they're probably going to need help, but I'm wondering where the help would come and how, so it could actually be a better situation. Because it has, like you said,
I think they need comic book people. You know what I'm saying? Like Cam, like your comic book guy, they need comic book people to, you know what I'm saying, that have had the experience at San Diego Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con, just, being around those really, really large comic convention situations.
And also, too, the thing I was actually looking at, because with Black Panther coming out soon, like, it would behoove Marvel to do something with them. Just off the strength, it's surprising they haven't even done anything with Luke Cage and all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah,
it's also timing. If the show is coming out before, like, it has to line up right, because they usually try to do it within a certain amount of, like, a month or so. And I think when did Luke Cage come out? During the summer last year?
August? Late summer, almost fall.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's before they were really doing any promotion stuff.
Yeah,
I think it was like August sometime.
Man, but help me do it. Well, all right. So speaking of Marvel stuff, we're starting to do a little bit of a book club. One of the books we used was Marvel's new Iron Man, Iron Woman, Iron Lady,
Iron Person.
Iron Person.
You guys suck.
Iron Person, damn it.
Iron Gentlewoman. So for whatever reasons, Tony Stark's not around right now, so he gave his armor to 2 different people. One being a fresh-faced Doom, and the other to a young African-American woman.
What do you mean, for whatever reasons? Civil War's over. We know why he gave the armor.
Yeah, but that's gonna be later on the show. If we start that now, we're never gonna get to it.
I think we should start with Civil War and then go into.
God. I mean, yes, Pope. We should totally start with Civil War.
I mean, that just makes sense.
Pope, what are your feelings on? So, full disclosure, I now work for the House of Ideas, aka Marvel. So, Pope will be leading this discussion on Civil War 2. Take it away, Pope.
I believe you should phrase it as, I recuse myself on the account of...
I like getting paid on a weekly basis.
Hashtag Cam wants to keep his job.
True. So you just agree with everything. You're like, no, that's not right. It's awesome. Yes, that was great.
Squirrel Girl is amazing.
Oh. You get started on Squirrel Girl.
Anyways, all right, back to focus.
All right.
Civil War 2. Speak on it.
All right, who wants to go first?
Yeah.
That's you.
Fire away.
Sorry,
Pope, fire away.
So, I have very little love for Civil War 2. I just think that it didn't make any sense. Like, the motivations for all the characters in the book were just kind of like forced for the sake of creating this story. Like, just make the sequel to an event that wasn't very well received the first time, but was much better than what this was. Because even, at least in that one, you can choose a side. You could literally choose a side, and the other side would be like, all right, I can see how you chose that. But it made no sense why Captain Marvel was as pissed as she was And so
the first one wasn't well received?
No, not really.
Really?
Yeah, people like there are people who like it, but it's not one of the hallmark storylines that people turn to when they talk about crossovers.
That kind of brought me back to reading comic books, but okay.
I mean, everyone had their own.
First Civil War,
Say again?
The first Civil War brought you back?
Yeah, I'd stopped for a long time. Real quick, I read Onslaught, and the way that it ended absolutely just turned me off. I bought the whole thing at the end, so I spent like $75, $80, just one shot, and just bought everything. Oof. Loved all the side stories, loved everything I read. Got to the end and was like, you gotta be kidding me. The last two, literally, it was minty until the last 2 pages where Franklin Richards like makes this pocket universe, and it just so happens that the joints that are flagging in sales, Captain America, Iron Man, Fantastic Four, Hulk, and a couple others, all magically sacrifice themselves and then end up in some pocket universe. And guess what? Everything resets to #1. So now all their comic books are #1s again. It's just, it insulted my intelligence. I was very angry.
I mean, that's how I feel about Civil War too. I feel like it insults the fans' intelligence in a way, because it's just like you never really feel the stakes of what's going on. It just feels like, hey guys, it's time to reboot. We got to get that cash grab. So Civil War 2.
I kind of feel like they got to the point where it's like they have like a cycle of crossovers that they do, and they were like, all right, we got to get back to this. What crossover we're going to create now where the heroes fight each other, because we need another one of those. So let's figure that out. Yeah. I
mean, I would have been fine with it if there was more, like Cliff was saying, if there were more stakes. I just feel like, with the first one, like Pope was saying, it made a certain amount of sense because Tony was already sort of trending in a very specific direction. Mm-hmm. And so him landing pro-registration made sense for the character because he was already angling very hard in that direction. Cap being anti-registration made sense because it's Cap and, he's for the people. This one, it feels like Captain Marvel's just being incredibly unreasonable.
Like,
for no reason.
Yeah, and I get the idea that a lot of it is based around like Rhodey dying. Spoiler alert. And we have another black person sacrificed to start a franchise. But
yes, man. Yes.
I would say, I get that's the one thing I would say is when I read Civil War 2, like I didn't see the Rhodey thing happening, and when I saw it, I was kind of like,
what?
Yeah,
that's out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. I was kind of like,
especially since he was a character who was trending because of the movies, and even in the book they were talking about he's about to get like this big position. They were trying to angle him to be the new president and some other thing. Like he had a career path going, a character path, I should say.
Right.
And they just did it to make Captain Marvel upset.
For now.
Yeah.
Also, like Thanos' decision to just like, all right, I just gotta come to Earth to do some crazy stuff. It seemed out of character where like, he didn't seem to really like plan out what he's gonna do, or there was no backstory that I knew of, and the response to it was just like so un-Avengers. It's just like, let's just hop into it, no plan whatsoever, and it's just everything just happened so abruptly.
And didn't they just finish doing a storyline with Thanos coming to Earth? The whole
Infinity,
the Infinity,
which was actually really good. I love that.
It was good.
Oh yeah,
it was really good. It was really like universe expanding. They use a lot of the cosmic characters. They use a lot of the characters in. That's kind of like when Hickman was doing his whole kind of Avengers Circle kind of thing, where the Avengers like grew to almost like 30 members, and so the book was pretty dope because they would only put in like 5 of these Avengers for this story, and then 5 of these Avengers in this story, and so it was to give them a more complete thing. It's pretty dope. I thought it was really good.
Yep.
Was there a backstory to Thanos coming to Earth for Civil War 2?
Yes, he was picking up a cosmic cube.
Okay.
That sounds like he was going to Walmart to buy it.
But that's the best part. That was the best part of that issue, where he was kind of like, "What are you guys doing here?" why are you like what is going on here? And then he was almost insulted, like, really, you guys?
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost kind of meta for like the whole everything that's going on in Civil War II. Like, what?
Yeah, that's exactly how Cam described it to me. He came to when he was still working with me. He came to my office and was like, "Yo, Rhodey's dead." That's number one. Number two, he's open with that. So, in the quizzical look I had on my face, I don't think I can duplicate. But he came through and was like, "Yo, first of all, Rhodey's dead. Number two, he was killed by Thanos. Three, they rolled up on him, and he was like, "No, what are you guys doing here? All right, I'm gonna kill Rhodey. But no, wait, hold up. What are you guys doing here? Like, why are you running up on me? You know who I am, right? You've seen me before. You know the armor guy and whoever this other jerk is. They can't. Like, I can't. You can't. I can't. All right, I'm gonna kill Rhodey. Make a point.
But it's like you don't really use Thanos to just like continue the plot. It's like he's usually either like a main baddie or a really important piece, and it's just like we're just using him to continue the story.
He's a plot device.
Yeah, plot device. But Thanos has a plot device.
Yeah, it's weird. It's really weird to have him a character of his. A character.
All right. Well, moving on. How does the rest of it play out?
In my opinion, it didn't really get going, and I feel like this is a trend with Marvel sweeping events. It didn't really get going until issue 6. But by then, as with Secret Wars, I kind of didn't care anymore. Like it just took so long to get going, and in equal fashion, it didn't get going until Spidey and Miles so Peter Parker Spider-Man and Miles Morales Spider-Man started bantering back and forth, and then it got great, and it stayed great. Secret Wars did that, and Civil War II, same deal. Miles and Cap are talking after Ulysses sees a vision of Miles holding a dead Cap, like impaled by some random piece of metal or whatever, on the steps of the White House. Huh?
That was a spike.
Yeah.
Doesn't he have the spikes? No, that's Kane.
No.
Yeah, it's Kane.
So yeah, and so he rolls up just to try. Miles rolls up on the steps of the White House just to prove, like, yo, I'm not gonna do this. There's no way that I'm killing Cap. And so Cap rolls up, and they're both like, yeah, this is awkward. Just let you know I'm not gonna kill you. Like, I hope you're not. And the whole back and forth between the two of them was absolute Marvel peak brilliance. But it took 6 issues to get to that point, because the other 5 issues were Captain Marvel yelling at Tony, and Tony, they're back and forth like, I'm right, no, I'm right, no, I'm right, no, I'm right. And it didn't.
I just like it when they're like, yo, if Tony is the voice of reason, there's something seriously wrong right now.
I thought it was great that they threw in, which made me feel like maybe this was going to be good when it kind of wasn't. But the bit where Tony is having that giant meeting with everybody, and he's like, yo, I've disagreed with Cap before and been wrong every single time. So I'm going to just err on the side of Cap being right. And that's why I asked him first before I gave my opinion on what we should do with Ulysses. I'm gonna side with Cap. I'm glad that I'm lining up with Cap here, because every time it causes me an ending pain to be wrong and on the side of this.
Yeah, so, and the other thing I would say is, they always have crossovers like on all the books or whatever. But the books that actually benefited from Civil War were Spider Miles and Miss Marvel, because Miss Marvel's book was actually pretty cool because she's Miss Marvel, she's idolizing Captain Marvel as like her hero and that kind of thing.
Right.
And
right.
with this whole, as it's playing out, Miss Marvel kind of comes to grips where like, I don't think I really agree with you right now. And so she has to go, in her, her own book for Civil War II, the crossover, Captain Marvel does a couple things that doesn't really line up with what Miss Marvel thinks that you should do, like what's right and that kind of stuff. So it kind of sends Miss Marvel on a different path where she's kind of like, well, I guess I don't really need you to tell me what's right, what's wrong. I can kind of do it on my own. And similar with Spider Miles, kind of the same thing where he kind of did his own thing. And I think that was kind of like what they did a pretty good job of setting up the quote unquote kids breaking off of Avengers and kind of doing their own thing.
Mhm.
And quick sidebar, Cam, you called it. Nova is a brilliant book. If the rest of you guys are not reading it, Nova is amazing. And anytime Nova, Miles Morales, and Miss Marvel get together, any book, it has yet to fail. Anytime the three of them get together, it's pure comedy. Pure comedy. It's amazing.
And then now they have their own book called Champions, which is basically like a Teen Titans, but actually I would say more Titans, less Teen, just because they're not connected to Avengers on purpose, because they kind of think that the adults are doing whatever wildness, fight with us amongst themselves, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
But they added in Vision's daughter and then Baby Cyclops. And it's actually funnier just because it kind of captures a lot of the youthful fun part of the bantering that some of the books are missing, where things are getting too serious and it's just not as fun. And I think that's actually pretty dope, because that also kind of bleeds into the new Invincible Iron Man with Riri Williams, because it has the same type of level of feel of like being, pretty happy, if you want to put it that way.
I was about to say, speaking of playful banter, Invincible Iron Man.
Segue. Clean segue.
I gotta do the.
Go ahead, Cliff.
And that's how you pit it.
I was clean.
So at the end of Civil War II, Tony is incapacitated, and so he gives his. Oh, go ahead.
Before you get there, like even like that last battle between Tony and Captain Marvel made no sense to me, because the main reason she was there was to stop Spider-Man from killing Captain America. Both Captain America and Spider-Man were like, "Hey, we're cool.
Yes.
We don't want. We got no beef. We're not fighting. We're gonna figure this out." And she was like,
Yes.
"No, I gotta put everybody in stasis bubbles to protect them from themselves."
Oh, yes.
They're like, dude, what are you talking about? We're not. We're over here playing Pokemon Go together to get this thing out. And
you
try to put us in jail? Huh?
Again?
I was saying this is all you guys, because I didn't make it that far.
Yeah. And then when Tony shows up, she literally just loses her shit, yo. Like
Pretty much.
On some next level. She went so over the top that I'm surprised that she didn't get arrested at the end of this joint too.
Yeah. I didn't get to the last one yet.
And to the part that I was trying to get this to you guys too, but so they have, and the aftermath, they have a thing called Civil War II, the Oath. And so basically the aftermath of everything is Maria Hill's on the lam, and they install Captain America as the new director of S.H.I.E.L.D. And so this is the second time around. And so he goes and visits Tony in his like vegetative state or whatever state he is in. And it does three things. One part of the book is Cap getting sworn in as new director of S.H.I.E.L.D. And the way it looks like basically almost like an inauguration. Everyone's there taking pictures, blah, blah, blah. Then another part of it is you see Spider-Man, Spider-Miles, he doesn't go to the event. He actually stays back and just kind of chills. And the new Wasp comes up to him and asks him, she's like, "Yo, why aren't you there?" He's like, I think I'm gonna stay away from Cap for a little while, just in case. And then she's like, "You should be happy, like nothing happened." He's like, "Yeah, nothing happened then, but now, but what happens if it happens in the future? Like I'm still not comfortable and that kind of thing." So I thought that was pretty cool. And then also the other part is Cap is talking to Tony about basically all the events, everything that's been going on and all that stuff. And you guys know that in Captain America, the famous Hail Hydra thing. So Cap has been this weird.
What?
Where have you been for the last 2 years?
That was like news.
Sarcasm.
I was about to say.
Sad.
Wrong.
So Cap is basically talking to Tony about all the events, blah 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 blah. But the most interesting part about the book is two things. One, the way Cap is talking to Tony is almost like he's almost like in current terms, like he's a conservative talking to a liberal, and the conservative just won, saying things like, you're always looking at the future, but not looking at the people. The people have now elected me to take over and da. So as I'm reading this, I'm kind of like,
oh,
Twilight Zone.
This sounds familiar.
And so it's interesting. So I'm reading it. I'm like, okay, it's going. I was like, did they just turn Captain America into Trump?
Well, all it needs to happen now is he needs to go back and say, so, Cap, so you said something about Hail Hydra. I never said that.
Wrong.
When did I say that? I never said
Alternate
that.
Comics, hashtag alternate comics.
So, but the speech is good because I've only been vaguely following Captain America this past year or so, but he's been doing all these little manic puppet stuff through the universe and kind of doing things. And so he basically talks about his vision that he gets from Ulysses. So Spider-Man got a picture of him killing Captain America, and so then he's like, my vision was different. And you turn the page, and it's basically all of America falling in line. You see all this Hydra stuff and people falling in line. So it's it's a vision of basically Captain Hydra kind of ruling everything. And so he's basically telling Tony, Cap actually really respected you and started talking in the third person. And you're kind of like, okay, now this is this really isn't Cap. So where's the real Cap? And this Cap's about to take over, da. And it gave to me, reading the Oath actually gave the rest of Civil War II a little bit more of a weight, because like you said, at the end, it kind of left you on this very meh. But after reading the Oath, it kind of gave it a little bit more gravity. So now I'm really curious to see how they take that and where they go with it.
Well, I read that the whole thing with Cap was that he's basically been manipulating everything that's been going on. So even Civil War was part of his plan.
Yep.
Interesting.
And so it's gonna be interesting how they kind of reveal all of this. So I'm actually, like I said, I'm curious. But anyways, finally we get to the end so we can get to reread.
Yeah, reread was great. I think it had that same lighthearted thing you were talking about. It takes itself seriously in terms of her.
Was it lighthearted? Because I didn't.
Her parents,
Tony versus
her backstory wasn't, but in terms of her back and forth with AI,
with Tony,
with artificial intelligence, Tony is hysterical.
Oh yeah. That
and
I enjoy that one.
The fact that Tony Stark he was like, yeah, I'm gonna help you out. You need an AI to run your suit. I'm gonna be your AI. That is genius. That is a pure comedic genius.
She's like, is there an off button for you? I can't find an off button.
And of course, his ego would not allow him to create an AI that would have an off button.
Yeah. Plus, I like that, especially each issue got better. So I like that.
Yeah.
The first one, it was kind of like, okay, we have a new Iron Man, she's super smart, but they didn't really show her being smart. They just kind of said she was smart and you're supposed to take it on face value. The second one, she outwits, her current situation with intelligence and fleshes out her character. And then the third one, it kind of shows more of her personality and how the things that in her past had shaped her into who she is now. So I like that Bendis is definitely evolving the character, really giving it some layers. And he did a good job with Miles Morales when he first introduced it, kind of doing the same thing where it's he didn't want it just to be like, oh, hey, there's a new black person in a familiar role. It's no, this person is specifically different than who you think than the current, the old person, but also has its own merits, now it has its own depth.
Mm-hmm. What's really cool about jumping off what you said, Cam, about the kind of overarching story arc is also okay, it's coming off of Civil War and also some of the ramifications of that. And then what you were saying about her developing as her own iron person, and then also it's mixing in with the ninjas that are coming over to make sure that is Tony Stark still alive? Do we need to kill him again, or we need to kill him again? And if it isn't him, we need to take care of the new Iron Man. But then also the backstory about why her stepfather and her best friend were targeted. So I got to give Bendis lots of props.
I don't think they were targeted. And if they were, that's the stupidest thing I can ever think of.
Well, the thing is, when you get in the issue, it's you're trying to, what she's thinking about, okay, they were both, I guess, shot in the heart. And then why weren't me and my mom killed? Why were my stepdad and my friend targeted? And she's thinking about what else is going on. So I don't know if I'm making too much of what Bendis is doing, or if there really is something that's going to be revealed later on.
I think if it's if it turns out that they were targeted, I would assume that Bendis is savvy enough to make it a good reason why. He generally doesn't love little foreshadowing type things like that.
It just doesn't make any sense. Like, she wasn't anybody at that point, you know?
Yeah, I mean, they kind of made it where she kind of just like I've been reading the Iron Man book prior, and her story was kind of parallel. They didn't really have anything to really connect her besides her kind of just doing it on her own. Like, she was making her own suit. She's kind of just connecting stuff and doing her own thing. And so I think it was one of those things where it came to Tony's attention because she had made a suit and she flew off somewhere, and then I forgot what his AI is now called, Friday, I think it is, was just like, he's like, yeah, there's some young lady rolling around in a suit that's not yours. You might want to check that out. So,
well, the thing that has me thinking that, I mean, you know, who knows what it might be, but part of the panel is when Riri starts asking about, you know, why this happened, the police officer, which went in the station, is like, well, you know, it was random. I don't know what to say. And she just has this stern look on her face. And the next panel is a picture of Iron Man in front of the press. And the next panel is her just like with that stern look again on one eye. So I don't know if that's insinuating something or if it's just trying to internalize her anger about the situation. It could be just an internalizing of that anger and, you know, trying to figure out how to best react to that and in her quest to now become Iron Man.
I'm with you, Cliff. I don't think it's innocuous. I don't think it's just, you know, a random little thing that he threw in there. It's generally when Bendis throws things like that into the mix, it's usually for a reason. He's going to revisit that.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it's not that somebody shot her family to get at her or some dumb shit like that. I just
yeah. That was my only thing. I was kind of like, for some strange reason, all African American characters need to have someone to die to motivate them to be like awesome.
Yeah.
Usually it's hip hop stories, but
you've seen Boys in the Hood. Come on,
Men's Society, South Central.
I wasn't too mad at that because she's from Chicago, right?
Yes, I think that's what it was. Yeah.
So it kind of mimics what's going on in our like current culture. I mean, I definitely see what you're saying in terms of like the way they use black characters to move along the story by dying. But on another level, I'm kind of like, this is kind of what's going on in Chicago. So they're kind of tapping on what's
that's a good point. I mean, I would have liked it to have that she still had a best friend, because then that best friend could be the audience member. So as she's doing these crazy, you know, worldly things, she has someone to kind of dump all these things on. Kind of like, I think that happens too much in a lot of the books. Like the one thing about Spider-Miles is good is that he has Genki next to him, and he has like the side, not necessarily a sidekick, but just a normal human being that you can tell all this crazy crap to.
But that's probably why they didn't do it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
What are you saying, Cliff?
No, I was saying Genki's awesome.
But he does have his mom there, and she has a mom, and her mom knows everything that she does. So
yes,
right.
So you got a little bit of that happening.
Yeah.
But I'm on board. I'm curious to see where it goes. I'm very curious to see where it goes. You know, I feel like, and I trust Bendis. If Bendis can make the Red Skull exhuming Xavier's grave and pulling his brain out of his head not matter to me and still craft an incredible story, that whole storyline was one of the best things I've read in the last 10 years. By a mile. The Uncanny Avengers storyline, that opening Uncanny Avengers storyline.
Yes, that's what it was. Yeah,
man, that was genius writing. And, oh my god!
And I think Bendis says this all the time. He like, I read something and I'm just like, then I read something else. I'm like, oh man, this is amazing. Yeah, like I can't be mad at you.
Yes,
conflicted all the time. Conflicted.
If I can forgive him doing a brain transplant so he can get Xavier's powers, I can forgive pretty much anything that dude's gonna do. Because at some point, it's gonna turn a corner and it's gonna be great.
That's right, because he did the Apocalypse Twins and all that, right?
Yep, that was part of that storyline too.
That was awesome, actually.
Man, that was good reading. Oh my god, devoured that whole series.
But yeah, overall, I think Invincible Iron Man is definitely something that like a lot of people should check out, and I'm glad it matched up to the hype, because I think people were really just gassed off of like, oh, we have a black woman as Iron Man, blah blah blah, yada yada. But at least it's good and it's solid and it has like a lot of room to grow and like, you know, be an actual fixture.
I would recommend it.
Yep, agreed.
100%.
Quick question.
3 out of 3/5.
3 out of 3/5.
Terrorist fist jabs.
The Apocalypse was the last storyline of X Factor.
Nah, Uncanny Avengers, the Unity Squad.
Okay.
Half X-Men, half Avengers.
I'm thinking about I think the last time was when Archangel was becoming Apocalypse, right?
Yeah, that was an X-Force. That was good.
Yeah,
actually that's the precursor to the Apocalypse Twins.
Yep.
Okay.
Very good read.
Yeah, both are awesome reads.
Now, like the X-Men comics you guys are talking about, I haven't had a chance to read, and maybe this is a larger discussion for a future date because I've kind of fallen off with a lot of X-Men stuff. But I don't want to go too deep into that. Just to say that yeah.
What are you doing with your life, Cliff? What are you doing with your life?
I mean, X-Men's interesting. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
Well, that era I think was really great. That era was it like 2 years back now?
Maybe
No,
3 actually.
Yeah.
No, even longer than that.
Yeah.
But
that whole storyline was great. It ties into all kinds of insanity that Thor was dealing with, stuff with Wolverine on his own. It brought a bunch of different elements from a bunch of different parts of the Marvel universe together in just brilliant fashion. Brilliant fashion.
Yeah, it was really, really dope. And then moving on, we also read Motor Crush, which is from Image. And it got a little bit of headlines earlier on because it has a Black woman on the cover. She's a motorcycle racer.
What?
And there was some controversy about it. There was. Some retailers didn't want to stock it because it was a Black woman on the cover.
Oh wow!
And yeah, it was kind of interesting. And book hadn't even come out yet. Just off the strength.
Yeah.
Yep,
Really?
off the strength. It was
Straight
that's how
we don't want a Black.
They just said it wouldn't sell. That was their official. Yeah. So that's how. Wow. So out the gate, it was already getting a little bit of some hype. But yeah,
I thought the hype was coming from since the artist was Cameron Stewart.
Yeah, so then that's the other hype. The other hype was the team that made the book was the successful team that from rebooted Batgirl over in DC. And so they did Batgirl's redesign and took it to a whole different direction. I think they were on the book for maybe 2 years, a year and a half, and really took it from kind of being obscure, kind of just another Bat character, to actually kind of giving its own voice and that kind of thing. So this was like a pretty big thing for them to break off, kind of do their own, create their own series. And we did just 2 issues that we read, the first 2?
Yeah, we read the first 2.
Yeah. And so I liked it, man. It was really cool.
I would read the whole series. It's pretty strong. The characterizations, the way the story flows, the universe they're building, the artwork is great, and
the artwork action is really.
I'm not gonna read a book if the artwork is terrible. I'm just not. I just can't do it.
Yep, I am 100% with you.
I am biased.
Art Snob Unite.
So, but outside of that, I think it's pretty good. There's a lot of questions I have about the book in terms of the way the world works, the way the main character is, but that's kind of spoilery. And since it just came out, I want if people are going to read it, I'd rather them find out on their own. But there's stuff that happens that makes me wonder more about the character and her backstory, because we don't really get much of her backstory as we go on. But there is there's a very.
It's funny that you're saying that, because I was really enjoying reading it overall, but then in the back of my head, those questions that you brought up about the world, is it kind of like our world? Is it kind of an alternate universe kind of thing? Like Tailspin, Cape Suzette, where it's just kind of this weird alternate kind of Earth thing going on, or what is it? But those questions never bugged me because the writing, the dialogue and the artwork was so good that it's I'm sure they'll explain more to us down the line and it'll be fine.
Yeah, it was dope, man. I mean, Motor Crush is about a motorcycle racer named Domino, and she works in a garage, or her dad maybe not owns. and it's kind of just her adventures. And I think it was really cool because I like that the world that they created was interesting. And also, I really loved the design too. Like all their design elements they're adding in like almost like a social media element and how they explain certain things. Like that was cool and added to the world as well. To where we wanted to give me more. Like I was interested to see how they were going to do it and what that aspect of the world was going to be about.
Yeah, that was seamless. I thought that, like you were saying with the social media aspect, but then also they were able to clearly delineate her like kind of Grand Prix life and what that played a role in her life as opposed to the street racing thing and how that was its own world and the kind of the underworld and everything. It was pretty masterfully done, which I think is a larger big ups to Image for creating these really cool stories and a lot of cool artwork that they seem to attract.
Yeah, I think Image has been, especially in this last maybe like I want to say 2 to 4 years, 2 to 3, something like that, where they've been really letting creators just kind of run wild and be like, they have an idea. All right, we'll give you guys X amount of issues to flesh it out, see if it strikes the audience, and if it does, then we'll keep it going. If not, then cool, you got a nice self-contained mini series, then you can kind of keep it moving from there. But I think that the success of Saga has allowed for other creators to make their own universes and worlds and kind of just play around with them, as opposed to kind of like they've gotten away from having this one big shared universe, which I think for Image actually has helped them even more, probably more because of like Kirkman and Walking Dead and Invincible.
Right.
Isn't Kirkman like a big honcho at Image now or something?
He's the CCO, Chief Creative Officer, I believe. I think it's like the top 5 spots is like him, McFarlane, Silvestri, and Valentino, and Larson.
Does Jim Lee have any type of like?
No? Nah, after he sold his stuff to DC, he's been chilling with DC ever since.
Yeah, he's isn't he like the editor in chief head?
Yeah, he's co-editor. He's co-chief editor, I think.
Ah, okay. I knew he was something. I can't remember what it was.
Him and what's his face?
Jeff Johns.
No.
Okay.
What's the other guy?
Kevin Tsujihara. No, he's like the movie.
Brandon Troy?
I don't remember.
Okay.
We're just throwing out names like. But yeah, I think Motor Crush is cool, man. I'm and it's cool because it's like seeing the social media on it and stuff. And I think a lot of people are identifying with it, rocking with it, sharing it, like consuming. And I think it's pretty ill. The one thing I saw was funny because from the woke people was the more extreme side, like, oh, here we go, another black character created by white people that's getting popular. And I was like, damn, man, why are you gonna be like that?
Well,
I mean, I understand it, but it's just like, it's a good book. I like the character. I'm curious to see where it goes. Like, I didn't really have to get into a whole philosophical debate about white people creating black characters and so on and so forth.
Right.
I don't know. I know there's a lot more black properties out now, but there hasn't been any that pique my interest. The ones that have is ones I spoke about earlier.
Yeah.
Like,
part of the problem is we're waiting for like a lot of black creators to either put stuff out or the big guys to pick them up to create black characters and stories. Then we might not have anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I had a good talk with David Walker from Paramount Iron Fist, and he was kind of saying that too. He was kind of like, we're in a nice, interesting bubble right now from when Luke Cage drops all the way up until Black Panther comes out. And he's like, that's about a good year and a half. So it's like, if you're a black creator and you have an idea and you have some type of organization, it's pretty much now is your time to get it out into the masses, because that's when if you get it out and get a nice your own following and that kind of stuff, that's when you're going to start to see larger companies looking at these guys and be like, oh, okay, C Airs got their own little buzz without majors.
What was the timeline he gave? He said if you're going to get it,
the dropping. Yeah, it was like the drop of Luke Cage, which was like end of the summer last year, all the way up
August.
all the way up to Black Panther coming out, because then you have all this time basically to drop your property, make your following, kind of craft what you want to do, and then you're in a good place that, say for instance, Black Panther comes out and does amazing, then people are going to be like, oh, okay, what's the next Black Panther? And they'll start to look at all these Black properties that are already out and established, and then start to gobble those up, throw money at it, and start to prop them up.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
Absolutely.
So get yours.
Okay.
if I have to,
I guess.
But beyond that, like, I agree with everything you're saying. And if you look at it, though, there's a lot of Black properties coming out. It's just whether or not they're good. Some of them are good, some of them are bad.
Yeah.
And
that was actually one of the issues at the Black Comics Fest. While we were praising EXO and Black and Tuskegee Airs, there were some that were like, nice to meet you, man. I gotta move on, though. You know what I mean? So we were having a conversation about that there too. So it's like, it's better than how it was when I first moved to New York and started going to Comic-Con. So whether you're looking at Comic-Con, where every year since I started going, the profile of Black creatives has kept going up. And this past Comic-Con has been the best I've seen in New York for Black creatives and just Blacks attending to Black Comic Fest. It's getting better, but
absolutely.
Go.
Well, I mean, it's the eternal conversation. I think Cliff and I had the conversation, and then and Cam and I have been having this conversation where I think the EXOs and the Tuskegee Airs of the world have figured out that you don't need to be chief cook and bottle washer. You don't need to be, penciler, inker, plotter, writer, editor. You can't edit your own. You always get someone else to edit your copy just so that they can catch. Like, you're reading your own stuff. How are you? Like, you're not really in the best position to be copy editor.
Yeah, you got to spread it out.
Yeah, you got to spread. Well, not just spread. You got to delegate. Like, just. You can't do everything. You can't. If you try to do everything, something's gonna let slip. Your art's gonna be garbage. Your inking's gonna be crap. You're gonna have typos, which is the thing that I see a lot. I forget who it was. The last Black Comic-Con at the Schomburg, I was waiting on Cam for something, and I'm like thumbing through this dude's book, and it was jarring because I'm like scanning little bubbles of dialogue, and I'm like, that's not spelled correctly. And then
it wasn't the Shaft comic, was it?
No. It was the guy. Was it the guy who did the Shaft comic? It was another book that he had at his table.
I think it was David Walker.
And I'm just like thumbing through. I'm like, that's not spelled correctly. Oh, that's not good grammar. And it's not good grammar in the not good way, not in the character talks, in a specific, with a broken kind of English or whatever. It is just not spelled correctly. And that's not right. And there should be an apostrophe. And I'm not the most. You see my text messages. I'm not the most
eloquent typer.
No. I mean, I am, but I'm not. I don't pay attention to punctuation and stuff like that all the time. And I'm just like, if you're putting out a book, man, you got to be a little bit more on point than that. People are reading for content and they're judging you on a certain level. Like with Marvel stuff, you can't. You kind of just fall into the zone, or DC stuff, or Image stuff. With the big three, you kind of just fall into the zone where you're just like, all right, it's gonna be a certain level of good. There's gonna be the artwork's gonna be a certain level, the inking's gonna be a certain level, etc. and so on. And just I don't want to have to think about whether or not or mentally prepare myself like, okay, so this guy's stuff is gonna be a little wonky on the wording or the typeset or whatever.
Could have been done like on purpose for like a slang thing for the comic.
No, that's what I was saying before. I purposely read like a good 3 pages leading up to that and a good 2 pages after. It was a mistake, and it was more than one in one book, and it just kind of threw me. It was very jarring. It threw me off, and it just the argument of well, you gotta support Black. No, I'm gonna support quality, dog. We are past the point. It's 2017.
You got a mixtape out.
You know what I mean?
Stop hating, son.
We're well past the point of supporting just because you're Black. It's not going down like that these days.
Yo, young Cam off Broke Records, same.
I mean, you know, I'm not. If I go to a party or I go to a club, I'm not gonna listen to I'm not gonna give the DJ extra, you know, extra consideration because he's just starting out. No, no. You know, your records are skipping. You can't mix.
Yo,
your transitions are bad. Like, you know,
if you had a voiceover, be like, hey, what's going on? It's Cam. First gig, please.
Yeah, that's not.
You don't support the brothers, man. You're not supporting the brothers.
I'll support anybody who does quality. Anybody who does quality work.
Yeah.
I encourage any person of color. Make sure you join his quality. I will absolutely support it. But get your weight up before you put it out for public consumption.
Yeah,
it's just not a good look.
When I was younger, I was like 19. Like I was writing. I had a partner, and we were writing a storyline that we were going to use like a video game and a bunch of other stuff. And at that time, me and him were going to be like the designers, the programmers. We were going to like design all the packaging, create the characters, write the story, program. Like we would talk about doing everything. And then we had watched this. We were watching a movie, and the credits had came by, and we started seeing like all these different key grips. Right, it was like a key grip for lighting, dude who runs the food, and like it was like, and then we was like, yo, all right, we key gripping. Like we just can't beat everybody at every position because you're not gonna have time to do the thing that you're really good at, you know. And that's when I learned that dream.
Yeah, I mean that's why I stopped doing parties in New York as a DJ. I was at the door, managing the door staff, helping out the cashier. I was doing, no joke, in one night I've done the door, cashiering, and security, and then went in the booth to DJ. It's just not gonna work. You cannot do everything well. You just can't. Something bad is going to happen with one of the things that you're trying to task yourself with. So yeah, they gotta. It's 2017, man. Get a group of people and delegate some stuff so that you can do. If you're the artist, just draw, man. You can be the conceptualist, the story guy, and then, you know, pencil your life away. It's gonna be better.
Word on that. All right. Well, you know what? Let's get a little bit of some final words since we had like a nice breadth of topics and wrap it up. We're actually gonna come in on time. I'm working on it. So all right, we'll do final words. First up, Cliff, what's your final word for the day?
My final word for the day is I think it's really cool. We're in a moment right now where we have all this really cool Black comic book art stories, comic books, and I'm looking forward to continuing Blerdlines. So because I know between me, you, Pope, Josh, we have friends, whether they're Black, white, whatever, that may have just started to be turned on to like comic book characters through the MCU and partially through the DC movies. So there's this kind of rush to find out a little bit more about these characters. They might be a little bit intimidated by comic book stores because, you know, they can be uninviting to the regular person. So I feel like it's helpful for them to have people like us where, you know, we're cool. We're not overly, you know, snobbish or nerdy about stuff where, you know, it's a turnoff for them. So I feel like it's cool that we're going to be in between for them or act as a conduit for them to get to maybe the comics. So I'm just looking forward to that. And then also my own journey in creating a children's book and just listening to you guys about your experience in story, what works in terms of art that works, what might not work, you know, just guys that have had experience doing these things that I can really learn from.
Word. Dope. Pope, final word?
Good job, Pope.
Oh, we lost Pope.
Oh, we lost him. Oh, okay. And Josh.
Okay, so my final
Josh, final word?
You know, pretty much what we were just talking about, you know, in terms, and that's, you know, aimed at myself, at the members in this panel, you know, just get it right, get whatever it is you're going to do tight to the point where you feel comfortable with a high standard, presenting whatever it is that you're going to present, publicly, because we all have ideas, we all have things that we want to do, and I think there's just a certain amount of comfort, or whatever it is that people have with just putting stuff out there. I mean, we're all professionals in our field, so I don't think that's a real concern, but just more of a reminder, as we were just talking about it, just sort of reminding myself, I don't want to put something that's going to have a bunch of mistakes or a bunch of whatever's in it, and it's interesting because there was this interview with I forget George Lucas's producer's name on the prequel films, but he said that he threw out this quote that said, films aren't released, they escape. And that's an interesting way of looking at things, because the opposite end of the spectrum is you can find yourself perfecting something to death until the point where you can't put it out because you're always going to find something wrong. But I think finding a happy medium and knowing your trade, knowing your stuff, and making sure that it's presentable. Your mom always said, don't misrepresent me when you go outside. You're representing yourself. You want people to think the best of you and your work. So that's my word.
Dope. Hope, final word.
I agree.
Great.
We don't find words. We're gonna skip over.
No, man.
Cliff
already went already.
While you were gone.
What happened?
I went to.
Yeah, my internet is weird out here in the States.
Oh, no worry. Well, Pope, go ahead. Do your final word.
So we doing final word?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Man, I had a whole
leading league in the underworthy final words. The man Popito.
You guys are messing up what I wanted to do here. All right, so listen, I'll just use Gotham as my final word.
You just gotta get that in.
See, I was gonna table it to the next one because there was gonna be a lot of conversation.
Oh, it's fine. We can talk about it again. This is my final word.
Sorry, this is your final word. Do what you want.
For those who have been listening to the Table of Truth over the last 5 years or so, we've been doing it. Ant is one of my best friends. I've known him my entire life, pretty much. And on the show, he has continually defended Wesley Snipes. Gotham is my Wesley Snipes. So just be prepared to hear a lot about it.
Okay.
Jesus. Sweet Lord.
Wait, I want 5 minutes. I want to know what it is you guys don't like about Gotham.
No, nope. I'm cutting it off. We got work to do. We said we're gonna get in this before a certain time. We were almost there. I will not allow you to hijack this conversation.
Yo, I've been working while you've been doing this, dude. This is how I flow.
Wow.
Anyways,
that's why.
Yeah. So my final words are: thanks to everybody for tuning in and joining us for the first edition of Blerdlines. We are going to try to do this at the minimum once a month. It could probably be more, but I'm gonna keep it at once a month, so at least keep us honest. But also to tell everybody to like and share and pass to your homies and do all that good stuff, and then also let us know how what you think, if we talk too much, or what else things that you think we should cover, or stuff that might not be on our radar, because we're gonna really try to touch on some of the indie stuff, some of the big two stuff, and kind of keep it with that. But overall, my final word is really look for new and up and coming Black talent, because there's a lot out there, and you just got to really you got to search for it. But once you search for it, you should definitely share it with other people, because everyone else should know, so everybody can really just support the ones that are really good, and so that there's more of it. That's pretty much it.
Cool.
Yeah, man. So this is Table of Truth.
Blerdlines. Gotham. Right.
Cut his mic, sir. Cut his mic, sir.
That's why you guys got that.
As one of the worst shows.
I could actually cut Pope's mic, so now he can't talk, can you? Ha ha! That's power. Hashtag Trump's America.
Like that
You sounding like Trump right now,
Was
B.
it like, was that ESPN show like Cold Pizza or something where you could cut the speaker's mic?
I'm just kidding, Pope.
I don't
Still not gonna let you talk about Gotham. We're gonna have a whole separate section about that.
All right, we're gonna do a whole episode on it then.
Yo, 20 minutes on the clock. Like, tell Pope, defend Gotham. Go. That's what we'll do.
I just want to know why you hate it. That's all I was asking.
Because it's a bad show.
Whoa. All right. This is the Table of Truth presents Blerdlines, and we are out.
Deuces.
Yo, we should.
You can listen and download to all of our episodes of The Table of Truth on iTunes. Just search The Table of Truth podcast.